Good morning, everyone. So it's 8 o'clock here in Lanzarote, and that means it's 9 o'clock Le Sable d'Olonne and 7 o'clock UTC, wherever you are in the world. And kind of an interesting boat race going on at the moment. Just a reminder, you can follow all of the tweets here on the side of the tracker if you're GGR 2022. So interesting banter going on there right now about various boat speeds, including Kirsten, who's flying. On the other side with the leaderboard, it's interesting to see Simon Kerwin has the fastest, or the longest daily run. He's got 156 nautical miles in the previous 24 hours from 4 o'clock UTC, which is kind of cool. Excuse me. And Tapio's run out at 152 nautical miles in 24 hours, and so it goes down. But certainly some of the average speeds right now are very interesting. 4-hourly average speeds, I should say. So you can check out the leaderboard there and the teams and so on. Just an overview of the weather here. You can see this is very typical right now for this time of the year. You've got really, typical trade winds here. This is just typical Atlantic, and there's not a lot going to influence the weather in the days ahead. This is actually set at the 17th of September just to see what's going to happen in the next few days, and there's not a lot. It's very stable. That's back the 16th, and then here we are today, so nothing's really affecting this airflow, this northwesterly, northerly type airflow that's over the entire fleet now. There is a little low pressure system at the back of the fleet. If we come back here to see how Damien's doing, he's bearing down on Arnaud pretty well. This little system here formed up a couple of days ago. It's pretty stationary. Damien will probably, he should be right. He probably knows it's there, but if he starts to run out of wind, he should notice it's standard sailor practice here. If he'll notice a wind direction change if he's coming down here very quickly, and also if it starts to run out and get light, he should immediately come out to the west. He'll know all about that. He's a tactical sailor, so whatever happens to the position of this, he'll maintain the breeze, I'm certain, go around. Arnaud's making reasonably good speed, 5 knots, 5.1. Damien 6.7, so he's obviously got everything up and flying. So by tomorrow he will have caught up with Arnaud. He's in touch with the rest of the fleet. The front of the fleet's still moving pretty quick, so he's not gaining a lot there. The fleet's split up by about 600 miles at the moment, which is amazing because it's only a 1,200 mile voyage from Le Sable d'Olonne to Lanzarote, or near enough, 1,300 miles. So we've got a big split for the fleet. And I'll just zoom this back a bit so we get a better perspective. And so you can see, Mark Sinclair's now underway as well, doing 4.6. That's pretty reasonable for him in the conditions. And then going down through Ian Herbert-Jones doing 6 knots. That's fine. They're all averaging good. 6.2 for Elliot. It's pretty much just a blast right now. And Captain Goog is 6.3. Kirsten's been flying, but she's got to be careful now because she's on the edge of this soft area of wind. And excuse me, what you'll see here, you can just detect it. There's a soft patch through, and we don't know how accurate this is. I often compare the wind on the tracker here, which is Windy, provided by Windy. That's the company that does all this animation. But if you go onto the actual Windy site, you'll see there's a bit more detail, even more. I've subscribed to the upgraded wind version on Windy. It costs €18 a year, I think it is, but you get hourly updates, a lot more accurate information and so on. And you can see the definition of this lighter patch through the middle of the fleet here. And what could happen is you'll see that the two leaders, they're just entering in a higher or stronger wind gradient. And if I come forward a little bit, you might be able to detect it a bit more. You're starting to see it there. There's more wind here than there is at the back here. So that's going to push them along a little faster. So you may see a bit of a gap going between Tapio and Simon. Just depends, because it's only slight, but it can make a difference depending on the sail combinations that the various boats are using. But for sure, if we go back to the current wind, I'm not sure what Kirsten's got up, but she's just averaged 7.6 knots in the last 4 hours, so that's pretty cool. And she's obviously gained a little bit of ground, but Captain Goog's doing well, as he's got the power up, 6.3. That's not bad. So Guy Debord 7.1 as well. So it's very interesting because you look at Abelish. Yes, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark. Abelish is not making those speeds. He's doing 6.2. Now, when you go 6.2 to 7.6, that's a huge difference. So once again, both Guy and Kirsten on paper have more powerful boats, and it might be starting to show. So that's going to make it hard work for Rustler 36s. If these guys get a break, it might be the end of the domination of the Rustler 36s. Whoa, that'll be fun, because it's been a bit distorted in the fleet in 2018, I reckon. But anyway, let's just see what happens. A long way around the world, and it's a bit hard to pick. So just give you, I've got a good look because I'm close to the computer, but here we go. I'll do it again one more time, just to show you exactly what's happening. Tapio got within a couple of miles of Simon last night, and then during the night he's moved a little bit further away, but he's making 5.9 knots, and Simon is doing quite a bit better, 6.8 knots. So obviously concentrating a little bit harder, maybe, hard to say. We don't know exactly what's going on board. They've got to sleep. And while the weather looks pretty benign here, you don't know, there could have been little puffs and bluffs and things like that which affect the individual performance. So it's all very interesting, but it's a straight blast now. This is good sailing. They're all having a ball. I'm just going to scale back and we'll look at what happens with the weather going forward. I think you can probably see that's the majority of the fleet. Okay, let's look at the sea state just while we're onto it. All again very enjoyable. Arnaud's got a little bit more up the back here. This is caused through that low pressure system that's here, the little one going around. So that's probably up around 4 meters, maybe 3.5, 3 meters, something like that. But nothing to worry about. All the rest of the fleet, they're on, 1.5 meters, 2 meters, something like that. So that's cool. Just have a check on the currents because there's not a lot happening here, but what currents are, they're favourable currents. And if you look at so this is a graphic of, current flow over here. It's easy to see what direction it's going. And when you come to the fleet and you want to know how fast that is, if you go to the bottom of the scale, they're in the yellows and greens, there's no purple, so it might be up to half a knot to 1 knot. And so when you get Captain Good here, he just went over a bit of a puff. He's making 6.3 through the water, over the ground, and that current may have actually given him a bit of a boost. And you'll see here Simon and Tapio, they've moved out of a current range, but here there's half a knot of current. It's going to last for 4, 5, 6 hours, so that may give Kirsten a little bit of a boost as well. So it's not huge currents at the moment, but you can see down here there's some big currents, so it's interesting to watch that as they sail around the world. But not a huge deal at the moment. Cloud cover, just to show you what happens here. This is the cloud cover, and again, you can. This is hang on, is that clouds or rain? Oop, I didn't see. Okay, yeah, that's clouds. So there's not a lot of clouds. These little white puffy bits are the clouds. So it's clear blue sky. They should be getting plenty of sextant sights to give them a reasonably accurate position as they're closing towards Lanzarote. Rain, there's no rain there. Clouds, pressure, it's pretty benign, but just a bit of a reminder to as you go forward, the things that you can actually pull up. So you can see here big pressure system, but not a lot happening. Very traditional Atlantic weather, and they've hooked into the trades, you could say, quite easily. So we'll go back to the wind. And then we'll look at the forecasting going forward for the next couple of days, make it a bit bigger so you can see what's happening here. So here's Lanzarote. We toggle at about 240 miles. The leaders are about 240 miles from Lanzarote. So we toggle that on there, and you can read the distance off here. 260 miles. So that's good. The current rate, and I think the leaders will maintain their speeds. They'll be making 130 miles a day without trying. So that's 2 days from 4 o'clock UTC this morning, and they'll be coming in. So that's going to translate to about probably 4, because they could pick up 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. And then because the big bunch of the fleet, if we look at these guys here, so we got this whole group is bunched to about 160 miles. So from 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning till about dawn on Sunday morning, you're going to see about 10 boats come through the film drop here in Lanzarote. So it's going to be very hectic for us. We'll be in and out and hanging out, and there might be boats coming in at the same time. So plenty of action coming up with Facebook Lives, because we do a live on everything. We're filming it for the documentary, filming it for our own bits and pieces, and taking lots of photos and so on. So there's going to be a wealth of material coming through, and we'll get the stories of what's going on. Just remember, you can you're obviously following the tweets, but that's where the little snippets are and the stories and so on. So let's just see the break to the back of the fleet. This will be an interesting thing to watch as well. Okay, if we look at Damien right now compared to the put that on Damien and put this on the two leaders, just average them out. 536 miles behind. Let's just watch how that gap closes and see if Damien's actually able to make ground on what I'd call the leaders of the fleet. He's doing pretty well. He has caught up some ground, but it may take him a while, and there's no question for now, going down through the Atlantic, there's not a difference in weather patterns. Okay, it'll be the first one to the doldrums. That's the next big shift. There's not a individual systems coming through, so it's not a drag race, but it's possible for Damien to catch up to the leaders if he's got a bit of luck. But it changes once you get down through the doldrums. First one out the other side of the doldrums gets a bit of a break. And he needs to be in touch certainly by Cape Town, because then you've got weather systems, and if you're one weather system behind, it's nearly impossible to catch up. So, but it's a realistic chance. The guys at the front are really pushing hard. They're not slowing down, so that'll be interesting to watch as well. So now I'll get rid of the toggle and just forecast it forward a couple of days. We're on the wind. I'll get rid of this, give you a bit of a better look here, going down to Lanzarote. So we'll go forward a day. Oops, not quite a day, but you'll see there's not a lot changing. If anything, the wind's picking up. It's stronger wind coming in towards Lanzarote. That's why I think they'll be here about 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's 1 day in advance. So that's tomorrow, which is Friday, and then we go ahead again to Saturday. It's 8:30 on Saturday morning. You'll see by then that first bunch of boats will be in this gradient here, and nothing's changing. This breeze is running through, and it's sort of like 15, maybe gusting to 20, and it could go, well, anyway, let's see. Sometimes there's a local anomaly here which might slow them down, but I'm still predicting no sleep for us on Saturday morning. We'll be up early out there and see what's happening. So all is good with the tracker, and follow the tweets. We should be getting a press release out today, just talking about what's going on before they hit Lanzarote, or approach Lanzarote, I should say.